Hello guys and welcome to my IT series. Today we'll be talking about MAC address, which is pretty fundamental definition in the IT, and it's one of the common definitions in the IT that you might encounter during the interview process for the entry-level IT positions, not to mention that you really need to know it in order to pass your CompTIA exams or any other related foundational IT or cloud exams. So let's get started. Let's first provide some definitions of the MAC address. I'm sure that you can find a bunch of definitions of the MAC address on the internet, but to tell that in a very simpler terms that even a child would understand is that MAC address is something attached to the network interface card or network interface controller. What is network interface card? Network interface card is a part in our laptop or our PC or our routers switches that we need in order to connect to the internet. So if we don't have network interface card, we don't have network. If we don't have network interface card, we don't have MAC address. So from these dependencies, you can deduct that if you have network, if device can connect to the network, it means that the device has network interface card. If the device has network interface card, it means that the device must have the MAC address. So that's why, as a rule of thumb, just think if the device can connect to the network, yes, then the device has MAC address because it has network interface card or NIC. MAC address is in most cases hard-coded onto the NIC and it cannot be changed. For example, now in many countries, and Switzerland is one of them, they put chips into the cat's ears or dogs as well, so that when the cat or dog is lost, they have their certain specific number, and when they look that number up, they find the owner of the animal if the animal is lost. So it's something quite similar. Every network interface card has a hard-coded MAC address. There are some network interface cards now that can change their MAC address consequently, but in most cases it's hard-coded and it cannot be changed. So how does MAC address looks like? MAC address is normally 6 pairs of hexadecimal characters that may include the letters and numbers that are separated by columns. By the way, just a quick fact, just as IP address that is separated by dots, the MAC address is separated by columns so that it's in more human readable format. And computer actually can understand all of those without columns or dots. So as you see, the second row is an example of a MAC address, and the MAC address it's 48 bits. So it means that each column represents 8 bits if we divide the 48 by 6. MAC address, the first 3 pairs of characters on the MAC address represent the organizationally unique identifier, which means that it can be related back to the company that produced the network interface card. And the last 3 pairs of characters relate to a specific type of the network interface cards. So by the first 3 pairs of characters, we can deduct which company or manufacturer produces these network interface cards, and when it comes to the type of the network interface cards, we can deduce it from the last 2 pairs of the characters. And it's very popular to Google on which OSI model the MAC address is. If you're preparing for CompTIA A+, it's not in the CompTIA A+ curriculum, but it is in the Network Plus, as MAC relates to something physical, meaning that it relates to the network interface card, which is the physical part of the machine or of the device. It's on the data link layer and not on the network layer. And that data link layer is layer 2. So it's very important to memorize that the MAC is layer 2 and the data link layer. In the meantime, when we talk about MAC address, many people wonder, why do we actually need MAC address if we already have IP? Well, there are some reasons why MAC address is needed as well as the IP address, And also, why are these two different? Because sometimes on the exams or in real life we can question this. Why, how different is MAC address from IP address? And let's dive into this. So as I said, in most of the devices MAC address is hard-coded. And what does it mean? It means that you cannot change it once you have it on your network interface card. And this means that the MAC address is static, so it's not being changed when you acquire the device with hard-coded MAC address on your network interface card. But when it comes to the IP address, it is dynamic, so it can be changed. And you know that every time DHCP, Dynamic Host Controller Protocol, is on, the machine is on, it assigns the IP addresses from the IP scope it has on different devices. So IP address is dynamic. IP address can be static as well, and it's when we assign a specific IP address to the server. For example, server's IP address will be 192.0.2.146, and it means that we're assigning a static IP address. But this static IP address is not as static as MAC address, because MAC address, it's not up to us to decide if it's hard-coded or not, if we acquired or if we have the machine with hard-coded MAC address. But it's up to us to decide if the IP address assigned to our machine or to the server should be static or dynamic, how it should be allocated. Well, on the second row of in both sides, you can see the example of MAC address, where there are 12 characters, and the example of IP address. IP address can have 1 to 3 characters in each dotted part. So MAC address is 48-bit, which means that each pair, under pair I mean the part of characters that come before column, is 8 bits. And in case of the MAC address, each pair is 8-bit as well. So each part before the dot is 8-bit as well. We divide the 48 by 6 pairs, and in the second case we divide the 32 by 4, and the answer is 8. So also MAC address, as I said, is related to the physical part, so it's still not on the networking, the third level, it's on the second level, data link layer. But the IP address is participating in the networking process directly, so it's rather related to the OSI model level 3 networking. For example, a hub, the device that operates on the first layer, the physical layer, it does not need to know the IP addresses because it's not smart enough to use the IP addresses for networking. And switch, if we talk about layer 2 switch, the general normal switch, and not the layer 3 switch that can be used as a router as well, this layer 2 switch uses the MAC addresses in order to broadcast a message or for the networking purposes. So the IP address is on the level 3, which is the networking layer. That was it for the MAC address. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them in the comment section down below. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. See you later. Bye bye.